should be live. Let me go and real quickly get stream pulled up. Alright, hold on, it's taking a second. Alright, there we are. Alright, so what's going on, guys? It's me, GhostPythonYT, back again with another stream. Hope you guys are having a good day. I know I am. Let me go and real quickly make the announcement to my Discord server and get everything like set up on the stream. So, oh boy, we got ourselves a pretty crazy scenario. Scenario like it's been discussed before, but not necessarily in a specific scenario. It's more just been about like comparing the old realm to the server, and a lot of people have been discussing like which one was more powerful, and you know, yada yada, like stuff like that. We never necessarily actually like talked about or considered what if they went to war. And so I know I've been doing a lot of these like, you know, mapping streams. I really enjoy, you know, doing these. I'm starting to really like I'm not gonna make this my primary stream, but 100% maybe like once a month set aside like a weekend just to do these streams. We might have another one coming tomorrow, but if not, it's either going to be a World Box stream or a server stream. So it's like one of three things, but probably not going to do one of these tomorrow, to tell you the truth. Really just only if I feel up to it. This does require a little bit of preparation, but I do really like going into these. As I always say, you know, before I begin the stream, a lot of people that come to my channel aren't necessarily into like mapping and stuff really that much. You don't have to be. That is all I'm going to say. Like, a lot of people end up coming to this channel, and they just are, well, mainly to these, like, streams, and they just like to listen to it. Because you don't necessarily have to be watching the stream, you can just be listening to it in the background, and hear, you know, my opinions, my takes, and basically try and just picture the scenarios in your head. So, yeah. Now, there is a few noticeable differences between the old realm and this new server. Alright? So, like, to start off, we're not using the current server. We're using the one that we had like about like 7 months ago. Now we've like been going kind of in and out of new servers. We got one going right now. It's only about a month old. I don't even think it's that old. It's like probably 3.5 weeks. It's about to go on a month. But the problem is that it's been really chaotic. We haven't had enough time to really get like an actual like country, you know, kind of thing going, and like, you know, good enough like history and good enough like settling in. So it's kind of led to whatchamacallit, like, it's just not good enough to compare to those servers. It's just too fresh, too new. So we gotta go back to the old kind of server to compare it to the old realm. Now, in terms, so we're gonna kind of like look at like, I think like 4 major things. So in terms of economics, the old realm was like a lot richer. Now, I mean, the old realm is like, I mean, probably I would say about 2 to 3 times richer than this server. Server was pretty rich, but the wealth was mainly just like spread across and was not very united. And I don't know, it's just not like, it's not as rich, and on top of that too, it's not as unified. That's another thing getting into is unified, like allied. On the old realm, I mean, everyone wasn't like working together, giving base coordinates, being all chill. But at the same time, you didn't really have anyone necessarily enemies with each other. We did have a few people we disliked, but on the old realm, everyone was a lot more unified. It was a more tight-knit, close community, and everyone, for the most part, I would say, weren't like friends, but they were good acquaintances with each other. Hey, what's up, Jungles, man? But yeah, so the old realm, I think, just had a way better community. On this server, I mean, looking at this map, like, just look at this. It is so divided, and like, there's just so much behind all the, it's just a bed of just chaos. And so even if we're like looking at if the old realm is kind of invading the new server, it still is not unified. This still is not. This is still a just like fractured hellhole compared to the old realm. Now in terms of military, old realm I think is still a lot better. Probably 3 to 4 times stronger. Had way more kits. Had way more factories to make the kits. And had, I mean, just in general, a lot, like, they had players, like, I don't want to say hackers, but they did have, I think, a lot better PvPers, and on top of that, too, I think they just had, like, just a ridiculous more amount of kits. Many of them are actually grinded for legitimately, and I think like in general, like yeah, like I said, going back to, they were just more unified. So it just made a lot more sense. Like their military is gonna stay kind of more together, and it's gonna be a lot better time. So the last thing I think I'd get into is probably talking about whatchamacallit, like location. Since this server is at the disadvantage, we are gonna be putting these guys on defense because it's easier to defend than offend. Now I don't have a map of the old realm because I kind of like forgot the seed and stuff, and I'd have to like there wasn't really any countries, so it'd be just like there's no real need for it. So just as basically, once the old realm is completely like kicked out, that's when they lose. So I would assume the old realm, if they had to pick one spot, I mean, realistically, they would probably just like go like here or some crap, like in the middle of nowhere, and like set up their base and start like terrorizing everyone. But they're not gonna do that. They're actually gonna start off a little more interesting, where we have them inciting a revolution and declaring the CNC Republic's independence. Except this time they got a lot thicker borders. Now, Old Realm versus Germany. Germany is like getting just, I mean, like no chance whatsoever. Germany cannot stand up to the, like, it's not even a war. Now, however, we do end up having Germany. So, well, hold on. Let me real quickly. I will represent these guys with purple for now. So they're gonna be like setting up. They're gonna be having taking a while. So we're just gonna kind of get the server moving along. Everyone's a bit shocked that like 30 to 35 people just joined. And oh yeah, the last thing I forgot to mention, population. This server leads in population, but only by about 5 to 10 people. So the old realm had about like 30 to 35 like active, like good, followers over its like count of lifetime. This server had about 40 to 45. So yeah. Now, they get their independence, they probably choose this area because many people in the CNC would probably, like, want this to happen, probably just let this happen in general. And we end up having Mexico. Yeah, they're out of here. Mexico declares their independence. And, Germany just got, like, slapped by by these guys that just invaded. And so, I mean, Mexico is gonna lose, but Mexico does manage to push out a little bit. Because they end up I mean, of course, yeah, they're at war right now. But, I mean, like, Germany, they're going to push the Mexicans back a little bit. There's not really much of a point to cover this. So, I mean, Mexico's capital is taken. Yeah, Mexico's just going to die. So, yeah, Mexico's dead right now. That's really all you need to know. So, now that Mexico's dead, I can erase this border. So, just do know, though, I don't think Auckland would rebel just yet. Really, having the CNC, like, this region leave is not a major blow. This region was already, like, very autonomous and very heavily controlled by the USSR and its allies. And, I mean, the USSR would also probably, like, want this, kind of let this happen in a way. But the CNC, or the old server, so what are they going to do? So they start setting up bases, start taking advantage of some old bases. And, I mean, a lot of countries are getting scared. They're, like, wondering, where are all these people coming from? How are all these people, like, just showing up in the first place? It's a lot different compared to, what had actually been going on. I mean, this is basically, like, just doubling the server population just out of nowhere. So we have them immediately. They end up at a war with Linsvagia, and, oh wait, what happened here? So actually, I have the tolerance, I think, a little too high. So they end up in a war with Linsvagia and Planetara. Now, I think they got this. Combined, they have a total of, like, 2 people against, like, 35 to 40. So, I mean, CNC Republic lands on Linsvagia. Now, the problem coming into this is I feel like the international community is going to support these guys, like, a lot. Like, everybody down here, or not everybody, but a lot of countries, I think, like, Vendea, Poland, like, a lot of the Polish kind of alliance is probably sending aid to these guys because they kind of associate a lot of these new guys with, like, Soviet rather than, like, an actual, like, server threat. So they're thinking if we supply these guys, it's going to really anger the Soviets. So they do supply them. They do manage to push back a little bit. However, it's not really much. Like, they don't really liberate much land. And eventually they just get steamrolled. Like, no battle whatsoever. Planetara, somewhat allies with Poland, but they're gonna die anyway. So yeah, they're starting to expand, and their goal here is conquer the world. Now already, it's not looking good for the new server. You just had 2 countries get knocked out, and Germany just get one of the strongest countries just get slapped like it was nothing. And so what do I think they would do after this? Well, they would probably go into the USSR and buy these islands. There's not much here, but they do want to expand their borders as much as possible. Do got to consider there's like 35 to 40 people living all in this, in one like kind of country slash rebellion slash whatever you want to call this. So of course they're going to want to expand their borders as much as possible. So yeah, now let me color in some of this. This is like really just triggering me. Now, okay, there we go. Yeah, I think I got this. Alright, so now, I mean, I see them maybe trying to conquer this, and maybe even, like, moving as far as, like, getting land in Vendaya. And that's exactly what they're going to do. So they just keep buying more of these islands off the USSR. USSR doesn't really use them. And so, I mean, USSR eventually, besides this big island, just sells the rest. I mean, it's fairly cheap. Yo, our country name is Pun. We didn't say when you were giving us the banners. Oh, we didn't say when you were giving us the banners. Okay, so I do want to say about your country, Pun. You need to actually make a border, not just like a banner ring type thing. Like, man, actual, like, close it with, like, walls and stuff. So, I can see the CNC Republic. So, this is going to be kind of where we're actually going to start to see some, like, some pretty major conflict going down right here. Now, CNC Republic is going to end up in a war with Vendaya. I really, honestly, you know, it was coming. Vendaya's right here. Vendaya's Vendaya. And so they're probably going to end up in a war. Now, this is not good, because since Vendaya's Vendaya, they have some allies. Poland does not join in. But do think about this, though. Poland is, you know, like Poland and the WSS are sending aid. But the WSS does officially join in the war on the side of Vendaya. And we even have, I mean, like, I don't think the USSR, I don't think really anybody else, but we do have the SSM deciding to join in the war, like, officially, like, enter the conflict. So, yeah, these three countries, and let me make sure, is this, okay, no, it's not the same color. It just kind of looked like it at first. Alright, sorry if I sound a little sick, I got kind of a stuffy nose right now. I'm really sorry, I took some medicine for it, it didn't really work too much. But, yeah. So, they end up in a war, and, I mean, 3 countries going to war with them might sound scary. You know, you got the WSS big boys, you know, SSM big boys, Vendaya big boy. But in reality, I mean, SSM is literally landlocked, and WSS is a literal ocean away. So, they're going to be able to begin their conquest pretty easily. So, I mean, they push onto this island, take it over relative ease. There's really not much here. I just remember Spy on Mummy, like, mining sand. That's about it. Is this the current map? No, this isn't this was the map on the, like, sort of previous server before we reset it. We had, like, a ton of countries going. I mean, it was really good, but we just had a major hacked loot and hacker issue. And so it really turned into, like, a kind of a bad thing, to the point the country system was succeeding. Everything was going really good. But the hacked loot just kind of forced us to restart, because it was, like, I mean, a ton of hacked loot. So, yeah. Now, this is, like, where the Vendayan capital lies. So, they pushed up north here. Kind of managed to, like, they're just, like, breezing. Like, Vendaya's not even standing a chance. However, Vendaya, like, aid is starting to arrive, so they do push them back quite a bit. Even make 2 landings on this island, and they're starting to push out. They connect these fronts, but this is about as much as they can do. We're talking about the old server against, like, 5-6 people, maybe. So, yeah, they just, like, I mean, basically slap them. Move up here, cut this area off, just push down here, make a landing, capital's captured. And, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like Vendaya is just going to get destroyed, but Vendaya is getting destroyed. So, let's see, let me go and, you know, kind of back all this up. Alright, okay, so, taking a look at this, I mean, I could really see, you know, in one of 2 things happening, like, full, just, like, annexation, or not full annexation. But, honestly, I don't think they're going to be that dumb. They don't want to anger the world or really alert them just yet. So, they annex this island right here. So, this, like, really big island. And they also get, like, a colony kind of in the north. Now, they don't take over the capital, but they do take over quite a bit of land. And I could even maybe see them setting up, like getting, like, an enclave or something, like, down here. So, I'll have to make a border for this. But, yeah, so that's probably what they get. Vendaya has some weird borders right now. Like, I mean, janky borders. But, you know, it's fine. So, I mean, with this win, you know, they're really expanding far, but it's like I don't want to make this video just like them slapping around countries until they actually get to the, you know, like big countries and the actual war start. So I'll kind of spare you the details, but in short, we're gonna have to put some countries on the chopping block right now. Like, I mean, there's literally just not much anybody can do. And I have a feeling after a while, Poland and its allies would realize, like, these aren't, like, just Soviets in disguise. These aren't, like, you know, Poland probably has some, like, big grand conspiracy of what they think is going on. It's false. And so I think after a while, everyone's going to probably unite in one kind of mega alliance to stop these guys. So here on, I'm kind of fixing up the border. Alright, so this is about what they gain out of it. Vendaya is allowed to keep, like, the sand mines, kind of this, like, outer territory, and the capital. And, I mean, this does kind of, it is a little inconvenient, but in the peace treaty, they do make Vendaya, like, allow them to, like, transport, you know, like, resources and stuff. So, yeah. That came out of that. I mean, pretty short conflict, and they come over to the USSR as well and say, hey, USSR, can we buy some islands? Sure, bro. Just take them. So, yeah. Now, they literally, like, I mean, they are dominating this. And the only thing really getting in the way of them at this point is just Germany. So, Germany has been rapidly just industrializing, militarizing. They aren't about to have what happened to them, you know, last time. They're not going to have it happen again. But, you know, CNC, or not, I keep wanting to call them CNC, because that, we were called the CNC in the old realm. So, I'll just call them CNC. So, CNC, you know, they're not really, like, just, I mean, they're not all about, you know, like, German industrialization, militarization, and they don't really care. Because, I mean, Germany's strong, but at the same time, it's like maybe a third or a fourth of, you know, these guys' power. Probably not even that. Probably like maybe a fifth of it. Like, I'm really, like, highballing it for Germany right now. Now, these guys are starting to realize, like, oh crap, you know, they maybe don't understand that these guys are, you know, from the past, but they do understand, you know, there's, like, a ton of people. They are expanding, like, at an alarming rate, extremely quick. I just realized these guys are the same color. I need to... Wait, is that the same color too? No, wait. Okay, that is not the same color. It's slightly lighter. But yeah. Okay, never mind. Alright, yeah, I realized that, and that just made me, like, really mad. I don't know why. But yeah. So, they end up in another war with Germany. This time, they're not... Their goal isn't necessarily to take over all of Germany again, but it's mainly just to try and, like, conquer the Mesa. And so they do have a good idea about how they're going to do this. So, immediately after this breaks out, we have the Mexicans rebelling again. Like, Mexico is just really tempted. No, not tempted. They want their independence. Like, they are gonna get their independence. And so I'm gonna real quickly draw a border for Mexico. It's about right here. So then now that they got their independence, I mean, this is gonna be a lot more interesting, I think. Seeing, you know, like, these two invade. So it's not really looking good for Germany. I mean, like, Germany, I always, in these scenarios, they're always the tide turner, the people that come in and make the war interesting. Yeah, not this time, buddy. So, yeah, CNC, I mean, they push out. There's quite a bit of mountains. They run, like, right here. But CNC doesn't really care, and so they kind of... They don't encircle this pocket, but, like, nobody's here. Making a border for Mexico. Shut up, Spot. So, yeah, they take this over. They also take these islands over, like, nothing's here. They're not really getting to it. And the Mexicans, yeah, they push across the border. Haha, it's funny. So, yeah, hilarious. So, yeah, they push across the border. They begin pushing in. And, I mean, I know I'm really making Germany seem weak, but you do got to understand, they just got, like, wrecked from, you know, the old realm. So, they're already doing really bad. Like, they fall in these battles. They got absolutely destroyed. They're not really standing any chance. You know, I might actually just make these guys the same color so I don't have to keep switching back and forth. Alright, so there we go. Now, they do end up arriving, though, and Mexico, pretty weak, so they push them back. Germany is weak because they quit. Yeah, that is one thing you do got to consider. On paper, Germany's, like, stupidly powerful, but they're not. So, yeah, CNC also makes a small landing, pushes across, connects up to here, and they're thinking... If they can do, like, that, they can cut them off, maybe convince Fallen to join the war as well and start, like, pushing down. But so far, they actually have to, like, push down. Fallen pledges, if they can actually do that, then they will join the war and start invading the South. So, I mean, that is a goal, and meanwhile, they do end up meeting up with the Mexicans. Mexicans kind of brawl in the front, and then they encircle some more land. Germany is, like, getting destroyed, but the major, like, population centers, like, over here. So they're not really, they're mainly just losing gold mines. That's really all, but it's still quite a bit. They capture the old Auckland capital, which makes people in Auckland really mad that, you know, they don't exist. And so we have, like, huge pockets of, like, rebellion, like, popping up in Germany for, like, a pro, like, Auckland independence. Now, Germany, they quell most of them. However, they do not quell the one in the south. One in the south, like, I mean, is just, there's no Germans down here. They're on the north having a fight. And eventually, after reaching the Fallen border, Fallen does join the war. And it's, at this point, just one giant, like, destroyed Germany. Now, the world is, like, all funding Germany. At this point, it's just them propping up a failing Germany. Because they realize if Germany loses, the CNC is, like, gonna open the floodgates to just destroy the entire world. So, after, like, a massive financial aid, military aid package, German, or not really German, it's more of one German dude and a ton of Polish and Soviets. They push these guys back, like, really far. Like, they destroy the entire rebellion. But Fallen, bit mad about this, they start to push in. And they warn the international community they will get allies involved, like other people involved, if they push them back. And so the international community is like kind of just like, Germany, you deal with this, we're going to go fight up here. So they start pushing them back like really far down here. Like, you do understand, not too much here. CNC's been having a relative breeze, not really dealing with a ton of resistance. And so now it's basically one big like proxy conflict, like the world. The world versus these guys. Now, the Germans, I think that they could take on Fallen. They push Fallen back, and eventually the country, it just falls. Haha, Fallen, get it? No, yeah. So, I mean, they push in. However, there's still this mountain range right here, so they can't really do anything. They don't encircle this, though, because CNC's got this crazy idea called doing that, and just, like, boom, wrecking everybody. Now, the world is not necessarily united in all this. Radkin over here is kind of liking the idea of, you know, like a challenge, like an actual, like, big war starting off. West Korea is trying to get out of iron armor. Japan is just too far away from any of this happening. The USSR, hold on, I need to color in their colony. USSR, I mean, they were the people running the, you know, all the realms and the servers. So, I could see me in this scenario, you know, supporting this kind of happening. Like, this would be really interesting. Liechtenstein does not give a crap because they're, you know, just in the middle of nowhere. No one cares about them. Mongolia is probably just like trying to, I don't know, they're doing Mongol things. SSM is just doing whatever Poland's doing. It's really, I mean, like, probably you got a third of the world just not really caring. And 2/3 are actually, I mean, so yeah, you still don't have the entire world united and unified over this, which is a big major weakness. So they're pushing in, and I mean, Germany did, you know, concur major victories in the south, so they can actually start, like, fighting on one broad front. But, I mean, it's no use. Eventually, though, they do get one genuine plan, and that is that they do want all the mesas. So instead of, like, you know, trying to push up, like, here in the north, they decide that they're going to kind of let this area fall a little bit, and then they're going to push south. So they try and meet the Russian border. However, there is a lot of mountains, a lot of resistance. They struggle to do that, so instead they just kill these guys over here and kind of push them back on all sides, like just like a big FU kind of moment. And then they snake along the coast. Still, they can't reach the Russian border. There's, like, tall, spiky mountains right here. But finally, they do. Oh, wait. Oh, made that go a little too far. So they do reach the Russian border. And they push in, and I mean, they aren't, like, invading Russia, but they are, like, completely surrounding this, broadening this front out quite a bit. And that's about as far as they're going to get right here. Like, Germany kind of got them stalemated, but down south, it's not really looking too good. Fallen redeclares independence, and, I mean, it's really not good. Auckland, rebels, crap. It's just not a good, like, it's not a good time to be a German. That island's taken. And, yeah, that's basically, I think, all that's going to happen in this war. I think from now, they've pushed really far in. The old server, I think, in theory, could take out Germany, but the international community, the world as a whole, probably would not allow that to really happen. So, taking a look at this peace treaty, I mean, I don't think they're going to get all of this. They're going to be pushed back a little bit. So, I think they're probably going to set up a border around right here. I think, yeah, right here would probably make a good border. So, yeah. We're going to go ahead and, let's see. Oh, hold on. Might want to remove this. So, they're going to get quite a bit of land. Fallen's going to get a little bit of land. And Auckland, you know, in all these scenarios, is going to be forgotten and screwed over. So, they, you know, they fought. They rebelled. They fought really hard. But in the end, nobody cares about Auckland. And they're not getting anything out of this war. Now, what in the world are these? So, yeah, I mean, I really could end up seeing Fallen, like, maybe getting all of this. So, I don't know. I think I'm going to give them all this. Because Fallen was, like, building a base and stuff over here. So, yeah. They could probably get all this. And then maybe push up and get a little bit of this, too. And I did also forget, there was a USSR. I am going to include this on all my maps now. There is a USSR colony right here. So, I got to color this in red real quick. But, yes, there was a USSR. That is going to be a lot more useful to know. Because that's going to make a lot more wars I think it's going to make them a lot more interesting now, knowing that there's a Soviet colony right there. But yeah, so these are the new borders of Fallen. Fallen's looking pretty big. We're going to go ahead and give them their original color. I think it was like that or something. Oh, wait, no. I just colored in the wrong country. It's like that, I think. Oh, and no, that's Jungo's color. I don't know what to give them. Like, I'm running out of colors at this point. No, hot pink is Radkin. Is that the same color? I think this is slightly darker. No one's really going to care at this point. So, yeah. Now, let's see. Oh, yeah, we got to also get rid of this border, too. And then we got to figure out what to do with Mexico. Honestly, Mexico's just lucky to be independent. That's kind of the way I'm seeing it. Like, I mean, Mexico, they fought. I don't think they should really gain any more out of this. Like, they did their share. I mean, they kind of did their fair share of the war. That's really all that needs to happen. It's just them being independent. So, yeah. The CNC in this scenario is, like, massive. Like, I mean, they really got huge. Probably, like, an even maybe faster expansion than Poland. Like, it is genuinely crazy how big they're getting. So, let's see. You know, we're going to give these guys dark gray. Oh, no, that's Russia's color. Man, I don't know what to give you. Okay, does anybody have that? West Korea does. Doesn't really matter. Alright, okay. So now that Germany's screwed, and now that, you know, these guys actually border the South, it is like, it's just not looking good. So the international community, they all, not all of them, but we have Poland, Oceran, USSR, WSS. I mean, basically, everybody but Liechtenstein, West Korea, Radkin, and Pog join in a big, like a big just defensive alliance. And this alliance is tasked at basically, if anyone declares war on any of us, we will declare war on them. We're going to try and contain CNC expansion as much as possible. Now, Mexico does not join in on this alliance. Mexico actually is fairly allied to the CNC, as well as we have Fallen. Fallen is really good allies with the CNC as well, too. So, I mean, we could end up having a new superpower, well, I mean, this already is a new superpower, but we could have a lot of countries end up joining and kind of being a lot more allied. Now, a new country I could see, like, joining on this CNC kind of alliance is Russia. Now, the CNC has a ton of money, and the CNC really does not have a lot of farmable, basically not enough plains in Savannah land. So they basically ask them, you know, like, hey, can we, you know, like, use some stuff? Can we basically just, can you be an ally of us? We'll pay you, you know, like, our entire bank account. They say yes, and so, yeah, now basically all four of these guys are in one gigantic alliance. And I could even see them maybe unifying, and we do end up having them unifying. Now, not all of them. I think only Fallen would probably be the only country out of these guys to unify. They had really, like, you know, strong connections to the old server. Wait, what in the world? I do not think this is supposed to happen. Oh, boy. So, I mean, Fallen is, like, a lot more closely, like, many of the members, I think, were a lot more closely, like, allied to the new server, or not, I'm, like, going, ugh. I mean, they like the old server a lot, or the old realm a lot better. They supported the old realm and like its policies, and they were fans of the server, but not as big of fans. Like, I think they would 100% support the old realm just coming back and invading. And the Mexicans don't join just yet, but they're thinking about joining. Russia is also thinking about joining, but they don't want to give up their one person democracy to join. They're still not really on board with that. Now Germany is still, like making a ton of threats, saying like, give us this back, or else. CNC is basically just saying no. Like, I mean, Germany is just this like big whiny baby at this point. Like, most of their population is like down here, where people and countries aren't being invaded. So Germany now is more of like a it's just not good. That's all I'm gonna say. And speaking of that, to add, more like burn to Germany, we have kind of this region, like right here, starts a revolution. Now, we do in these scenarios always assume that like about everybody is playing on the server, and I don't think that could realistically happen, but it does end up happening in this scenario. That's all we're gonna say. So yeah, it does end up happening. We'll give them, I don't know, yeah, that color. We'll give them this. So we have some rebels popping up now. These guys, they were under this. It was Farmer and Ethan or whatever. That's the nicknames. They would be playing, and in most scenarios, Germany is just way too powerful, way too strong. Farmer and Ethan in most of those scenarios are probably like, I don't know, like off in the mountains smoking crack or some illegal stuff. But oh boy, in this scenario, they're not doing that. They're not, being bad out in the mountains. They're actually, like starting a country. So the Republic of Ethonia does declare independence. Now this was for a brief time like an actual like somewhat country, like Ethonia was. Like, I remember it. I mean, it wasn't like a good country, I would say. Like, it kind of died after like I think like a month. But I don't know. I mean, I would see them making a return. Germany's already like stupidly weak. They just got beaten up by everybody. Yeah, at this point, in all these scenarios, just Germany gets beat up. That's just the rule. Now, Germany, after like getting beaten and badly, the Ethonians declare their independence, and now it's like really bad for Germany because they're having to fight a second civil war. So Germany, though, I mean, they declare this as independent, but Germany still occupies quite a bit of this. Like, they really only control like this, and this is some weird kind of occupation. I don't know if these guys, like, I'm really kind of, I don't know. Germany's still really powerful. This is only, like, really 2 people. And the CNC might think this is a good opportunity, but they're not going to invade just yet. They're not really. Germany does end up joining the alliance. Not everyone's attacking Ethonia. Not everyone cares. They just tell Germany, man up, deal with it. But the CNC is telling the Ethonians, we'll give you some military aid and equipment. So Ethonia pushes across here to this relatively like kind of flat area over here, but Germany is making some like, it's just like flooding in over here. Like, Germany is receiving a lot of, or not a lot of aid, but they still do have a lot of people, and they're like constantly like, mobilized and ready to fight, kind of in this scenario. So I'm really seeing them kind of pushing out. Honestly, though, I don't know. This is literally basically the CNC Republic fighting. So they're wanting to establish one big kind of front line. They then push over here and start kind of moving up along here. And their goal is to try and get Germans to like kind of push down here and then like encircle them. But Germany really doesn't do that. Like, Germany realizes what they're going to do. They move all their troops out. This region falls. And then it's kind of one big broad like kind of front line right here. And so Germany, they do agree that they might allow them to have independence, but only below that line. Like, that, basically, this is what they get as a country. And that's really not even much. That's only to, like, satisfy, like, the 3 people. And so, of course, they're like, heck no, that's, like, what, like a fourth of the territory they want? And so, I mean, with some CNC, they are making pushback, but the CNC is not extremely focused on this. They have been fighting constantly. They're now in one of those, like, we need to restock, reorganize, kind of regroup periods. So Germany is like, I mean, they'll basically punch Germany, and then Germany's like punching back harder. Now, the international community does not really care, like I just said, but Germany has been preparing for a war, primarily with the CNC, and so now that they're dealing with just a small rebellion, it's really nothing major. So, I mean, they're pushing in, and they actually managed to push right over here, slither along the coast, and do that. And this southern region, it does not fall yet, but the capital region is kind of being squeezed into on all sides. And then Germany makes a compromise. They say, you know, hey, we will allow you to have your capital and a tiny bit of land if you basically promise just to not fight us, you know, we can hold trade. I don't really know. So yeah, but these are going to be the final borders, so they get a small amount of land by their capital. So this is going to be really weird. We don't have much, like, disconnected territories that, like, called enclaves and exclaves. Didn't really have much of that on the old server. Like, many people were, like, very... They didn't want that in their countries. I can understand why they didn't want that. But Ethonia does end up getting independence down here in the south. Now, these, like, Farmer and Ethan, many people haven't heard of them. It's because they were on, like, the first, like, few weeks of this server. So, like, this is, like, ancient server history. So they do end up getting their capital as well. But their capital's, like, so disconnected. And Germany is probably thinking, we can maybe charge them money to, like, go back and forth through here. Kind of like a East Berlin, West Berlin type thing set up. So, yeah. Germany is, you know, looking very weak, very invadable. But, you know, they're not going to be invaded. We've been bullying Germany far too much. Leave them alone for like 10 seconds. Let them kind of do their own thing. So the CNC, however, they do end up deciding, you know, just to unite with Mexico. Now, I don't know. Mexico, you know, I don't really see this as very realistic. But in this scenario, you know, the world is probably extremely tense. Probably, like, ready for a war to happen at any minute. And they're not really big fans of Mexico now. Mexico is just like, we're safer and way better off just joining these guys. And so they want to get this, because they're really mad that their ambitions of, like, conquering the entire Mesa and, like, desert biome as a whole is mainly being halted by Germany, Khalsa, and the USSR. The USSR and these countries are trying to contain them, and this is becoming a high point of contention right here. Because this is, like, basically a thorn in their side. Like, basically, like, you cannot get the entire Mesa. Like, you got most of it, but we still own a portion of it. And so this is where the big war begins, ladies and gentlemen. You've been waiting for it. Yeah, they just decide, screw the USSR, and they invade it from two sides, like, just a surprise attack. Now, there's still, you know, quite a bit of, like, stuff over here, and the Soviets were not expecting this. They really were not, but USSR is now at war with these guys, and as a result, literally everybody is getting involved in this. Like, everybody's getting involved. Okay, no, not Radkin. So, Mongolia, I don't really see them joining in on this war unless there's, like, a point. SSM, of course, joins in. West Korea does not join in. Japan does not join in, but Oseron probably would. And, of course, Khalsa joins in. Russia joins in on their side. And Ethonia also joins in. And then Germany joins in. And, I mean, of course, yeah, okay, so these guys would join in. And Radkin makes the bold and ballsy move to join in on their side, along with their ally, Pog. And so, I mean, they're more of, like, puppet state Pog. So, yeah, we've been, like, building up to this, kind of establishing this. So, you know, these guys, Vendaya, you know, they want their land back. They're really salty. So they join the red side as well. Mongolia, I mean, it would be smart for them to join the red side, but, like, if we're looking at how... I mean, they're surrounded by red team countries, but at the same time, if they did join the purple team, they could get more out of this. I don't necessarily know exactly. So, yeah, Liechtenstein just decides to stay neutral. Now, going on to West Korea, Polish, you know, like, soldiers are, like, join or die. So they join, of course. And, I mean, Japan, they don't have really any connections. They're basically forced into joining as well. So now we're literally just left with this one country, Mongolia. What are they going to do? What are the Mongols going to do? Because they do have a lot of connections to the old server. Or the old realm. Like, that's what they played on. They joined the old realm. Now, some of you might not agree with that. I could see, your opinion as to why Mongolia would maybe join, the new server and all this. I could maybe see that. But for now, we're just going to have the Mongols on this side. And Liechtenstein, of course, they are the Giga Chads of the entire server. So they stay neutral. We're going to put them on this separate kind of... Or no, we're just going to give them white. Like, no data whatsoever. Like they're just kind of doing their own thing. So, yeah. This is the big war. In most scenarios, we usually, like, put one country or one small alliance. This is, in my opinion, somewhat balanced, but also... I think, like, geographically, Purple Team is at a huge disadvantage. They're so, like, split up and, like, spread apart. But they're at a huge population advantage. Meanwhile, like, Red Team, they do not have any cracks or gaps. Everybody's on this. The server, for the most part, they get over most of their crap, and they're now unified. So what's the first thing to happen in this war? Honestly, Vendaya just takes this over. Now, not with ease. This is really hard. Vendaya uses most of their resources. But there's really not much here. They just want their sand mines back. And they do also make a landing on this island as well. Kind of doing a very similar thing to what happened in the old, kind of war. And they start pushing up. Now, these guys are not prioritizing Vendaya. They don't have much here. They thought they were going to use some of this. But, like, not really. So they come down here, they give Vendaya a slap. But they do also really... They need to consider that... There's not really a purpose down here. They need to be fighting here, not here. Vendaya doesn't really matter. So, Vendaya, after a long and hard fight, do manage to liberate that. And all they have to liberate is just their island, which they do have some outposts over here. This is a major, like, trading kind of area. So, they don't let this fall. And they do manage to actually completely kick them off the island. So, Vendaya's liberated the mainland. All they have to do is just take over the island. Now, coming over here to this USSR colony... Honestly, I think the Soviets would actually push them back, like, quite a bit. Now, like, they would liberate their territory. I think they would launch a kind of campaign like this, push in. There's, like, a huge mountain, so they just kind of go around it. And they just start pushing in from here. Like, really, the USSR major military, they just go kind of through Jungos and then go into here. Now, Russia, fairly weak. I'm not really seeing them do much. They're honestly probably just going to get invaded and kind of slapped around right now. But this is where we see the CNC. So, like, I mean, I just realized, like, hold on. I need to color in this as well. Hold on, I need to color this in. But, okay, so we, I've been, like, kind of, showing the CNC a little bit in Vendaya. But they are other places. So, where's the main front they're going down in? Well, they realize they need to connect to the southeast as quick as possible. So they launch a massive offensive into Jungos. Like, I'm talking huge. And the goal is literally just push down into, like, not even take cities. Just meet up with Radkin. And this is also what the Southeast do. They hold a defensive literally everywhere, except for about right here, where they start also pushing up as well. And the Red Team realizes if they connect this front, they are donezo. Like, that is it. They are, like, screwed. So, Red Team troops, they realize it's going to be a lot easier to push Radkin back. Radkin's a lot weaker. And Red Team just start to enter Mongolia from all sides. They break the defensive, even entering kind of northern Radkin, cutting off Radkin sea access, which is really bad for them. I mean, they have, like, a pixel of it, like, right here. But still, that's really bad. They cut their major sea access. Over here in the USSR, this front is wiped out pretty easily. USSR kind of sending people to the, front where it matters. And Ethonia kind of just dies, but they do push back a little bit. Oh, nope, they're dead. Ethonia never existed. They're gone. Erase this ugly border. They were never here in the first place. I don't know why I even, like, brought them into this stream. Like, dear God, forgive me, border gods. They should not have been here. I'm just sorry. Gosh darn. I don't know, like, Ethonia... good idea, but not a good idea at the same time. Just really dumb. So yeah, Germany fully annexes Ethonia. And then the actual fight begins. So, CNC troops also flood into Germany as well. This is kind of they take back finally all of the Mesa Germany. And they even send their troops into Russia and manage to liberate all of the country. And they also kick the Carlsons kind of out right here. Now, they still want to push into Pog. And this time they get a little greedy, or push into Radkin, and they push right into here. And they end up linking up with Radkin. Bad news, they get cut off. and then they get kind of double cut off. So yeah, this is really bad. They push back into here, recapture Radkin CXs, even push them back a little bit, and destroy this. And I mean, just destroy these guys as well. Now, CNC, though, behind the scenes, they've only really been using about half their military, so about half their strength. Now they realize this is like desperate times kind of call for desperate measures. So they literally get everybody in the military. Everybody that is not doing anything, they are going to fight. So they get two main goals. The first goal, or well, the like priority goal is connect with Radkin, help them in the southeast a little bit. Second goal is flood into Germany and capture the rest of the sand biome so they can start one big push down into here. So they do that. They send, I mean, a lot of people down. Like, we're talking one of the largest offensives ever made in server history. Like, probably like 25 plus people. And connect with Radkin, liberate their entire country, and even push a little bit into Jungos. And so, yeah, now it's this big block. Like, we usually have most offensives, or most, like, fronts ending up like that. Now it's, like, going side to side rather than up and down. Kind of a little goofy. And so, Germany, they do manage to push them back. Like, I mean, I know it's been back and forth, but Germany does liberate now that they're kind of not really focused down here. Russia is, like, just destroyed. Their two-man democracy, I guess, failed. And they're starting to, like, kind of push in a little bit. But now these soldiers, they're like, they need to make a choice. Either let this region kind of die, or you know, like, kill Germany. And they obviously are going to pick kill Germany. So they start, I mean, like, flooding people into Germany en masse. But Germany does have quite a bit of aid. However, they really don't care. And then they move up through here, move into Kholson territory for the first time, encircle, reset up Russia, and kind of like flank across Kholsa, cut their access, eliminate this German kind of holdout right here. And Germany is just en masse retreat. You know, Ethonia tries to rebel. Germany says never, like no way, you're not going to let you rebel. And they start pushing them back a little bit, even reconnecting with Kholsa. And a blunder is made right here. They're getting so cocky, they kind of just let this encirclement happen. Even a double encirclement, and oh boy. Like, I mean, we're talking, we haven't seen this since World War II, bro. So, World War II and the Soviets. Alright. And then, to add more insult to injury, the world community does that again and just destroys the rest of Russia. Now, I know I'm, like, getting a little too crazy with all these encirclements right here. But these guys got really cocky. It would have worked if they would have neared Berlin and actually, like, stabilized this. But they really, they just couldn't at this point. There's, like, so many people fighting. And down here, you know, red team soldiers are also, like, flooding in as well, pushing in. They don't capture the populated centers of Radkin, but they do have, like, a good geographical kind of front. Now, they're kind of also realizing, too, that, you know, they might need to take out some of these islands as well to prevent, you know, like, massive kind of offensives and stuff from happening. So they do start to take out a little bit of these islands. And they send, you know, like, 5 people down to Vendaya, capture the capital of Vendaya, push kind of back into here, launch another offensive, and Vendaya eventually falls. Now, I'm not saying Vendaya would fall that easily, but they do send about, like, maybe a fifth of their army and capture Vendaya. And so, yeah, now, it's really not looking good. They're getting, like, really... The red team, if they really wanted to, could probably do, like, that, and that, and, like, really just not go good. So they decide, instead, we're going to do another funny. So they decide to flank back into Germany, except this time, they leave this area wide open. They don't go for the encirclement, but they pretend to, right? They kind of push in. All these soldiers, like, flee and start fighting up here. And, I mean, it was as easy as that. So now they just took over, like, quite a bit of land. They had to literally encircle and fight nobody. And they re-cut off this. They near Berlin. And finally, after a bloody battle, Berlin falls. However, the Germans do not surrender. But they're pushed really far back up the peninsula. And now down here, they can begin, you know, pushing in. They finally push into Polish territory for the first time. This angers Poland. But Poland can't really do crap. And Kholsa is now just reduced to their capital. And, like, a mob spawner. And also, they liberate all their territory again. Now, this comes at a very heavy cost, because all of Radkin is captured, and they are now being pushed up, like, quite a bit into Jungos. And now it's starting to look like an up and down kind of thing. So, kind of going over into Germany, So they get a massive, like, they get around to doing this, take over this massive kind of colony right here. And eventually, Germany, they just don't have it in them to continue going. They fought their heart out, and now they're going to have to probably flee to other countries and start fighting there. And now that they dominate this sea, they also begin, like, you know, taking over quite a bit of islands to get good grounds to start fighting. Now, you do got to consider, these guys are, like, stupidly powerful, and that whole time they were only using, like, maybe half, even a fourth of their military. This is their entire military, and it's not looking pretty for really anybody at this point. So, they kind of push across over to here, and they try and link up with this front. However, this does not succeed, and they start pushing up, like, I mean, really far offensive. Even kind of push back up into here. All of Polish territory is liberated. And this is not as far as, like, that's not really what I'm saying, but this is a major kind of, like, stalemate setup right here. And, oh no, they made a landing right here. They push in, kind of started pushing into Radkin, and, you know, a lot of people forgot. Maybe we should have taken over these islands and helped Vandea. But not really, you know, they probably shouldn't have. So, yeah, now that they're pushing in, these guys are getting a little concerned. And they're getting even more concerned now that they're being pushed back tighter and tighter and tighter. Polish territory is invaded once again, and Meme Island is destroyed and captured. They do struggle to push into Basilisk. Basilisk is, like, very heavily populated, got pretty good defenses. Liberate all their territory once again, and finally Khalsa does fall. So yeah, Khalsa had some really good holdout. Sadly, they could not hold out long enough. And what's worse, BDR, they die as well, and they also make a landing on Brussia or the WSS Isles. Now, they're starting to mainland, or near the mainland. Like, they're, like, breaking the island chains. They get around, they capture whatever the heck this is. I think it was like a mushroom island or something. Somebody owned it. And, I mean, they dominate the seas at this point. They dominate really all the island nations, all the small border puppet nations. It's just not looking good at this point. There's not really much the world can do. And it's not good when they kind of pull of that. And then they push into Basilisk. But they do kind of stalemate around the Alara region. Capture this. And finally, I mean, they kind of like smash their soldiers down into here. Launch a big encirclement. However, this region is very underpopulated, very dense jungle. So they move into here. However, this region does remain under rebel control for quite a while. They don't fully manage to capture that. Now, USSR and kind of Soviet troops do push back, meet up with the rebels, and then are starting to kind of push them back a little bit. And then Radkin kind of does a funny, cuts the Soviets off, pushes into southern SSM, and after the colonial capital is captured, many people down here, many of them were British and Japanese, are forced to flee to the actual mainland, where quite a bit of pushback is happening. I will say, like, over near here, Khalsa has been reset up. However, they don't have all their land. Finish the border. Do you know where any fortresses are? I assume by that you mean nether fortresses. I don't know exactly, but I know they're pretty close, I think, to nether spawn. Or like 0-0, if that makes sense. So, yeah. Now, they launch another encirclement. However, this time, they make sure to take over the rebels. They push into here, and finally, all of the USSR colony is captured, and so is the SSM as well. Now, they run into trouble with big old Liechtenstein. Liechtenstein doesn't let them through, which is a huge blow to them. Now, it doesn't seem like much, but there's a lot of mountains, a lot of rivers, a lot of lakes, and so the red team manages to kind of just sneak around Liechtenstein and deliver a heavy punch back. Like, they punch them really far back. They move back in, retake the capital of this. There is quite a... Oh, what did I just hit? There is quite a bit of soldiers still left in here, but they do manage to reset it back up, re-liberate it, and it's now starting... The tides of war are starting to turn. They push in, occupy Mongolia, push back into Pog, reoccupy Pog. But at this point, it's like... They're still really only using half their military. They have half mainly just in the factory, half in reserve. But now, they have like... I did say they were using 100%. But they kind of used 100% to take out Germany. Now it's like, just stay back in the factory and kind of work. But not anymore. So they push back into Basilisk and finally capitulate the entire country, which is dangerous news. They also start a major offensive. But you know what's really bad? When now the Polish capital is only just like minutes away. So they push in, and they're finally, like, all of Jungos is dead, except for this small southern region, which actually is doing really good. They are, like, making pretty good progress in the south. They pushed all of Radkin back and are starting to push up. Now, this is where it's bad, though, because they do that. Now, I don't really see them maybe even being able to pull this off. I don't really know, but they do. And that is bad, because now this region, with the most cities, huge population. Oh, yeah, speaking of this, they pushed them back. I mean, huge cities, huge population, capital cities of like 2 countries. It's bad. So, yeah, they're kind of getting blown up. USSR and Poland kind of die. Now, USSR only has a small colonial holdings, primarily like down here, a little bit in Japan, off the coast of Poland, and really right here. But the Soviet and Polish capital were just captured, and WSS cannot hold out for long. They died as well. And now at this point, it's literally just once the southeast is captured, it is toast. And so instead of doing an encirclement, they just kind of do like this like famous hook maneuver. Push back in, reset up Radkin, and then they just keep pushing down in here, cut off the Soviets, and push back in, and finally all the southeast is captured. They still run into trouble with good old Liechtenstein, which like kind of slows their progress. USSR is pushing up a little bit, but it kind of fails. They push in, and now this is really bad. Like, I mean, it's literally now just Poland, West Korea, Japan, and some small Soviet kind of like colonies, and Oceran. Don't forget Oceran. Now, what are they really gonna do? What's their next move? Well, they push into like the only building here, and the dumb people here decide we don't like war. We're just gonna surrender over this region. Not a good idea, because then they can do that. And now they actually finally have a broad front. They captured all the remaining Polish cities, started to push down into here, move into West Korea, capture the like wooden hut that West Korea has. West Korea does also another surrender. They don't want to fight as well. And now it is literally Poland, the USSR, Oceran, and Japan. 4 countries. We went from like 13 to like 4. Like, this is really sad at this point. And there's not much they can do. It's really, the WSS is, I think, a small holdings, but it's literally the WSS and Poland, like, still fueling this. And, like, partly, you know, the BDR USSR Mega Alliance, they lost their land, but they also still are sending, you know, like, a ton of aid, ton of help. But yeah, they make a landing in Siberia, the like only place where people are receiving food in the form of sweet berries. And then they decide how about they just kind of occupy the north. They push in. They know Saron's going to be hard to capture. So they instead just do kind of that and capture it anyways. And Oceran really dies. And now that is another, is Japan, USSR, and Poland still left in here. And they do finally get one major saving grace. They eventually pull out half soldiers in here because they're getting cocky. They're like, yeah, we own this. We can just pull out half of our soldiers. Kind of be chill for the most part. Not really. Like, Polish and Soviet troops push really deep back into their territory. I mean, really deep back in. They set up West Korea and finally have like a major front going until they realize maybe we shouldn't have done that. And kind of push back in, like, really far. Like, I mean, really far back in. And they punch back even harder. West Korea is taken, they take some land around it. And now it is just the Polish far south. Now, they get around, they capture some small islands, like right here, that the USSR owns. But sadly, well, this is not enough. USSR is taken, sadly. And, yeah. So, rest in peace. It is now just Poland and Japan. So, anime land versus, you know, dumb people land. So, yeah, they're still pushing in until eventually, finally, Poland, they don't surrender. It's primarily at this point just Japanese troops. And the Japanese actually do have quite a bit of people. So, they do have a field day pushing into this, like, southern occupied. But this is it. Sadly, Japan is going to lose. Japan is pushed into, they lose all territory. It is now just down to the Japanese are the final holdout. And then we have a literal miracle happening. You think this is bad. It's getting down to the final, like, everyone's lost hope. And then our savior Liechtenstein joins the war. In reality, they are gonna clap. Like, I mean, no one can beat Liechtenstein. Liechtenstein needs to be nerfed. So Liechtenstein, of course, push in out their other territories. Screw the mountains. They push down into the SSM, reset up the SSM, push down over here, reset up the USSR. USSR is back on top, buddy. So now that they just revived 2 people in the war, they then launch a campaign over here. Take out Oseron, encircle these guys. Literally everybody falls, and the entire world is starting to look pretty red. So yeah, just make it all red, bro. Yeah, they died. Now, in all seriousness, though, I could see Liechtenstein maybe joining and actually, like, in all seriousness, though, they really could provide a lot of help because nobody's down here. They're all fighting the Japanese or all in the factories. They could probably, in my opinion, with allied help, get, like, maybe this much land, maybe even, like, a lot farther before, something happens. Like, Liechtenstein would be good, but I just don't think they're going to join the war. And sadly, well, the Japanese are captured. All, kind of red. All red is taken. The old server wins. And oh my gosh, it is not pretty. Now, all borders are literally going to be erased at this point. So we're just going to do, we're going to go to paint bucket. So yeah, oh wait, oh boy. Hold on, let me turn tolerance up. So yeah, all borders just don't exist anymore. It's just the server, the old realm world order. Now Liechtenstein, you could say, is the real winner because now they don't have dumb idiots that are constantly going to war surrounding them. I think in this scenario, the main body that ruled the other server, the O5 Council, were really powerful. I could see them setting up like spheres of influence and control. Maybe even setting up a new war/country server. But this time, you could have, like, Leviathan and his people maybe in the north. You could have maybe, like, Danny down here or something. Like, I don't know, like, Tank and his people down here. And then the rest of them kind of just in the middle. Like, I really don't know. Anything could really happen now. It's basically just another frontier. They do got a lot of cities, a lot of towns, and a lot of settlements. So that is going to do it for what if these countries went to war. I really hope you guys did enjoy that. Now, this video, like I will say in most of these videos, it doesn't, or most of these streams, it doesn't really take extremely long to, set up, but at the same time it does. It takes quite a while to, like brainstorm, think about the scenarios, also fix the map, because the map, for some odd reason, I keep forgetting to disable anti-aliasing, and, like, I mess up the map half the time. But yeah, now I will say, I don't know exactly who would want the map. I really don't know your reasons for it, but if you do want the server map, so this is the final map of them winning. Now we're going to go back and watch this kind of in reverse. So yeah, this is what happens in reverse, so you can kind of see the pushback. I am doing double click, so this is going pretty fast. But, I mean, overall, like, you don't understand how such a small country really accomplished all this. But yeah, so they did all this. It was pretty quick, actually, as well. Oh, I clicked adjustments. I mean, this was also, you do consider pretty quick. So, all the countries, of course, joining the Mega Alliance. Germany fighting the Civil War. The Civil War, actually, I realized it's pretty interesting to actually, like, go back and watch it kind of like this. So, like, you can see the Civil War kind of starting, like, hold on. German Civil War, it is kind of fun to watch. Might end up making short videos just over like just playing this like in like going forward. But yeah, so you can see the German Civil War there. Then you can kind of see me drawing up the borders with all this. And I mean, really, you can also see the German kind of this like separate war going on. Of course, the Mexicans fighting as well. I mean, really going all the way. Yeah, you see the Vendaya conflict, them buying all the islands, them going to war, and yeah. This right here, oh boy, oh my gosh, I clicked that like so many times. Now I did make some edits to the map to improve it, so there's quite a bit I need to still go for. Alright, okay, so it's like right here. Alright, so this is the current server map right here. If anyone wants me to send this to you, I can. I'll probably post this in the main server for anyone that wants to download it. I don't really see much to any really mapping content being made out of this that's like separate from me. But I know a lot of people, this isn't necessarily my main content focus. But I am kind of hoping we can actually have some pretty good streams out of this. And so your support really does matter for these streams, because I do want to see that. I don't want these streams to go like unnoticed and unsupported the whole time I'm doing it. But yeah, so tomorrow, I might actually do an inviting people to the server stream. That actually sounds, I think, pretty good. But yeah, so I will see you guys in the next stream. I hope you guys really did have a good day.